Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. In today's video, we're going to be taking a basic look at Powershell. We're going to look at what Powershell is, how we might use Powershell, and more importantly, we'll discuss why we might choose to use Powershell. So, first of all, Powershell, what is it? Well, fundamentally, it's a tool that's built into Windows that allows us to issue commands directly to Windows in a way that potentially bypasses the usual graphical interface of Windows, the familiar point and click with the mouse. And you might be forgiven for thinking, well, I quite like my pointing and my clicking, why would I choose to use something different? And that's a fair comment, and there are a myriad of reasons that you might choose to use a command line way of performing tasks than using the graphical interface, and I'll demonstrate some of these very briefly shortly. First and foremost, some things can be performed faster using a command line tool than using the graphical point and click interface. In other instances, we can get more meaningful information back from our command line tools than perhaps we can from the graphical interface, or at least without downloading some third-party tools, which comes with its own set of caveats. Obviously, you have to go and source those tools, download them, install them, run them, have them running in your system and learn how to use them. Sometimes it's just easier and preferable to have a command line that performs something simple for us. And again, I'll give some examples shortly. In addition, we might want to chain together a number of common commands and tasks that we run and have them in a simple script. And in doing so, we can then rerun that script whenever we choose, and the results are more repeatable. We take out the element of human error, of having to remember all the steps that we clicked through to achieve something in previous sessions. We can simply rerun the script, reissue all the same commands, and we're going to get the same type of result output. So, how do we use PowerShell? Well, first of all, let's take a little step back in time to a time before PowerShell and look to see what Microsoft offered before it. So before PowerShell, there was the Windows command line, and it's important to have a look at this so we can see why we would choose the PowerShell over the command line. And some people watching this may be familiar with the command line. You may have typed in the odd command before. You may have found that it wasn't as intuitive as you'd hoped and you didn't achieve the results that you wanted. And I'm going to show you how this might be different in PowerShell. But to start with, let's open up a command prompt. So this is the command line that preceded PowerShell. And we'll do a head-to-head between a task in a command line interface, the Windows command line, and in the graphical interface. And what we'll do, something very simple that perhaps you would only ever really want to do graphically, but we'll demonstrate how it can be performed perhaps faster in a command line, and that is we're going to browse to a folder and we're going to have a look at the contents of that folder, perhaps even the subfolders and the files that exist there. So we're talking about PowerShell today. Let's have a look at the PowerShell structure. So we'll find that through the graphical interface first, and I'm not going to time this, but we'll just get a feel for how fast it is. So we'll go to our C drive, we'll go to Windows, we'll scroll down for System 32, System 32, and we now need to get to Windows PowerShell. So we'll scroll again, and oops, as you can see, there wasn't very many directories, so I've gone straight past it, so we're going to have to go back a little bit there. Windows PowerShell, and now we're going to look at the v1.0 folder in which we've got all the content and our subfolders. So we can see we've got the PowerShell file there. There's also one called PowerShell ISE, which I'll be talking about shortly. PowerShell ISE allows us to more easily type in longer scripts which can be used in PowerShell. So we'll come back to that. I'll minimize this. So you can see it wasn't particularly complicated, but it took a few mouse clicks and a little bit of dragging and dropping. Well, in a command line we can issue a cd command, which is change directory. We're not in the PowerShell directory at the moment and we need to get to it. So we're going to type cd and then we're going to tell the change directory command where we want to go. And we're going to go to Windows, System32, Windows PowerShell, v1. Very quickly we're there. One of the things you wouldn't have seen, which I'll explain, is press the tab button and it will auto-complete the part of the path that you're on. So if I type in cd c windows /s, I can hit the tab button and the first one there is sch cache, then schemas, etc. If I put in sys, I then have system32, system apps, and so on and so forth, and I can keep cycling around by pressing the tab button. So system32, Windows PowerShell, and then v1. But as you can see, it was fairly quick to get there. Now while I'm here, I can also type in a command called dir, which will give me a directory listing. And here we go. So if we couple that together, opening the command prompt, typing in cd c:/windows /system32 /windows PowerShell /v1.0 and then enter, and then dir and enter, it's quite a bit quicker than to look through Windows graphically. Now you might be thinking, well, it doesn't really add much value to my daily workflow, why would I choose to do that? And here's where we can do some more novel things. So again, this is still the legacy Windows command line, but if we type in fact, we'll clear the screen first. If we type in dir/s, the /s designates show me all the subdirectories. Now, imagine how long it would take you to navigate through every subdirectory in this folder structure. There we go. And we're going to get some, such as modules, which itself has got a whole new set of folders. And those folders, in some instances, also have subfolders. So it's an awful lot of clicking and manoeuvring around to see if we can browse all of our files and folders. But if we add /s in our command line and hit enter, Windows merrily goes away and pulls up all of the subdirectories and all of the subfolders really quickly. And we can output that to a text file. So that's quite a powerful way of navigating the file system. However, if we had that in a file system, yes, it would be good and we could kind of casually browse down, but it would be great if we could manipulate that data a little bit further. Well, in steps PowerShell. We'll exit from the command line now and we'll go into PowerShell. So we can right click the Windows icon, we can choose PowerShell here. There is an admin equivalent which gives us a higher level of privilege, but for now we'll just go to the regular PowerShell. And again, we can issue the same command, cd Windows System32 Windows PowerShell v1, and again I can dir and get a list of my directories. So if you're familiar with the command line, you can use your familiar command line terminology. If you're familiar with Linux, you can also type in ls, which gives us the same results. Now ls and dir in PowerShell are actually aliases for a more powerful tool which is called getChildItem. And getChildItem, again, it shows us the same information, but behind the scenes getChildItem is gathering a lot more information about those files and those folders and allows us to manipulate things in greater detail. There's also a shortcut which is GCI, but I prefer to use the full length getChildItem simply because it's more accessible when someone's reading through a script or looking to see what is happening. It makes a lot more sense. And getChildItem, if we break it down, we're getting something. The child item is the things beneath what we would term as the parent folder, which is this v1.0. So we can getChildItem. And like the command line, we can also recurse. So instead of /s, we can put -recurse, and we can go through all of the directories. As I said, there's some more powerful things you can do with PowerShell. Let's say we want to get a list of all of the file and folder names by the entire path, so that we can save that in a text file and store that in case we want to refer back to it in the future. Perhaps we have a copy of the data somewhere, and if a copy becomes corrupt, we can refer back to the original, have a look at our file that we've saved and see what data might be missing. Or perhaps we're intentionally changing around parts of our file system, and again we want to do a compare of before and after. Well, if we put full name, we can do just that. So we can give PowerShell some additional switches, so to speak, to say we want some additional information out of it, or parameters I should perhaps say. So we've now got that list. I can tell it, instead of outputting to the screen, output that information to the Windows clipboard. And now if I go into Notepad, I can Control V paste, and there we go, we've got the full list of all of our files and folders, and I can save that and save that text file somewhere. But we can make it more efficient still. We can tell PowerShell output to a file directly. So we'll output that to our user directory, to our desktop, and we'll call it our files.txt. And if you take a look over on the left, just under the Microsoft Edge icon, that should generate for us about now, and there we go. So we covered briefly PowerShell ISE. We said that that's a way that we can write things in a scripted format. So let's copy that command, and we'll go into PowerShell ISE. We can type ISE at a Windows PowerShell prompt, and we can see we're greeted with a split screen. At the top we have our scripting pane, so we can type things in, and when I hit enter, nothing happens. And that's because until we press run, it's just typing in script. So if I type in run, we can see at the bottom that's where the output appears. But we can also use the bottom pane just to use it as if it was regular PowerShell and just issue commands directly. You can see I've just added a pause command. I'll explain that shortly. So again, we'll just paste in that command manually, get child item recurse, show us the full names, and we can run that manually. So if we put it in at the top, there's a couple of things that we could do that might be useful. So we're going to save this as a script. So we're going to show the files, and then what we're going to do is we're going to save the files to the current directory, and we're going to call the file files here.txt, just as an example. And then we're going to pause it. And the reason we want to pause it is because when we run a script, the script will run and exit, so it won't stay on screen. So the pause allows us to externally run that script and to remain on screen until we press the enter button. And because we want to see the output, we want it to retain on screen. So we're going to run the command twice. The first time we're just going to show it on screen, the second time we're going to save it to a file. And we'll save that script to the desktop, and we'll call it my files and folders. So we've saved that. So we'll come out of it, we'll minimize it in case we need to go back in. We'll close the PowerShell normal view, and we'll close the Windows Explorer view. So we'll delete the out files text file, or R files I should say, we don't need that. We'll right click on my files and folders, and we'll run it with PowerShell. And sure enough, we can see we've got two icons there. And the reason it's two and not 3 or 4, we're showing Edge and the shortcut to Microsoft Edge and the My Files and Folders PowerShell script we've saved files here has only been generated after we've run this, and the recycle bin is actually a special system file that doesn't exist in the user profile. So we were expecting to see this, so press enter to continue and it'll disappear off screen, and sure enough, in files here is a list of what files I've got here. So the great thing is, now we've got a script, we can copy that and we can put it somewhere else. So let's have a look. We'll go to our C drive, we'll go to program files, and we'll paste it there. Maybe we want a list of everything that's in the program files directory. If I run that again, you might see, there we go, we've got an error saying access denied. That's not a fault of the script, it's because we're running PowerShell without a high enough level of privilege to get access to the Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection set of folders. But we've output a long list of what we can see from the program files directory. We'll hit enter so it disappears, and there we go, another files here. And we can do clever things so that instead of it saying files here, it will say the name of the actual folder structure. So we'll cover that in another video. But for now, we can see that potentially we can do things faster than using the graphical interface. We can do more novel things that we can't necessarily do natively with the graphical interface that we'd otherwise need a third-party tool for. And we can also do things in a repeatable form. So now that we've got this script, again, I can paste this anywhere that I like. In fact, maybe I want to see the entire contents of my user directory structure. So I'll paste it there, I'll run it again, it shows us what we've got, I'll press enter so it disappears, and there we go, list of all my files. So hopefully that's given you some food for thought. It's perhaps whetted your appetite to understand how to do more with PowerShell, because it really is a powerful tool, and there's a lot that you can do to enhance your Windows experience by simply using the built-in tools in Windows already, the PowerShell command line tools. And in future episodes I'll be providing some more bite-sized information on PowerShell. We'll take a deeper dive into some of the specific commands. We'll be writing a few scripts together if you want to hang in there and watch a few more of these videos. Hopefully you found them useful. If there's something specific you want to see, please do leave a comment below. And until next time, thanks for watching.